All set?
Yeah.
In accordance with Mass General Laws, Section 48, Section 10, Mendon will hold a public hearing on the 25th. The hearing may be jointly joined remotely by following the information provided on the meeting agenda at madonna.gov. 7 o'clock, George Fornari, Showtime Entertainment, LLC, 297 Boston Road, Sutton, Mass. Request a special permit pursuant to Article 5.01 of the Mendon zoning bylaws. The applicant seeks to construct an adult entertainment establishment located at 49 Milford Street. Assessors map 917749. The details can be viewed online at mendonmass.gov/zoning board of appeals. At this point, we'll open it up to George Fornari or his representative to.
Sure, my name is Tom Lesser. I'm an attorney and I represent Showtime in this matter, and more specifically George Fornari. And with me is Dale McKinnon, who's the engineer for the project, and he's going to present you with a plan. And basically, you have certain requirements in terms of your submission, the submissions to this board, and we've complied with all of those. We submitted a document indicating how we complied with them, and we comply with all the setbacks. We comply with the coverage requirements. It's only covering like 3% of the lot. By chance, this project happens to be in an adult entertainment zone. The Fornaris didn't ask for it to be in their land to be in the zone, but it's one of 4 parcels that are in fact in the adult entertainment zone. And we first have to get a site plan. We've been before the planning board, and we had a number of hearings before the planning board, and they had their own expert, and Mr. McKinnon and their expert went back and forth, and eventually the site plan was approved. And we've submitted a copy of that approval to this board. In terms of adult entertainment, there are 7 or 8 things that we have to comply with. And the zoning bylaw says if we do comply with all those 8 things, then the zoning board of appeals will in fact shall grant a permit. And the first, it is not within 500 feet of a child care facility, park, playground, recreational area, adult entertainment use, or any other establishment within 300 feet of residential buildings. And the required buffers are shown, that is shown in the plans that Mr. McKinnon will in fact present to you. And the required buffer zones are met and shown in the site plan. The third thing is no material depicting anything sexual will be in or around the building, and nothing will be visible from the street of that nature. It just looked like some building that's consistent with the architecture of New England, and we have pictures of that for you. The third thing is that we have to comply with the Mendon zoning bylaws concerning signs, and will identify the name of the establishment only and contain no advertisement. It's going to do that. The third thing is no merchandise or services that are obscene or indecent will be available within the adult entertainment establishment. We're going to do that. The appearance of the building will be consistent within similar areas in Mendon, and will be screened by evergreen trees or shrubs 6 feet high. We're going to comply with that. and no more than one structure will be located on the project site. We're going to comply with that. And the applicant has not been convicted of violating certain sections of the general laws, and Mr. Fornari has not in fact done that. And I'd ask Mr. McKinnon at this point to present the site plan, unless there's any questions.
Bill McKinnon from Gary.
Perhaps you could turn that a little bit that way so the people in the audience. Oh, you have?
We can
All right.
see it, yeah, oh, these guys, yeah.
All right.
All right, it's a 3.2 acre site, and we're using the same general entrance that's for the existing site and coming in there. The impervious area is approximately 27% impervious, and the existing is about 12% impervious. So there's an increase in impervious area. There's an existing wetlands in the middle of here, made back in 2012. And the only thing that we're doing is moving this road over slightly because they were concerned about the size of the building is 4,800 square feet. During the
I don't know, take that wireless mic off the podium.
I'm sorry, you asked me to do that. Is it on?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I'm saying that there's a 4,800 square foot proposed building on the site, and it's 3.2 acres. There's parking for 75 people. The minimum required is 40 parking spaces. They propose to have a on-site valet. There's going to be over in this side an actual gate to keep the people from getting into the rear of the site. The rear of the site will be used by people coming in for the people that will come into the adult entertainment. The other patrons would come through the front door. And there is a side door, like we said, for a proposed smoking area.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I didn't say that. It will be pure valet parking. So that means that no one will ever be in back of the building where it might create noise or something else for neighbors. People will only be in front of the building, and they'll drop off the cars, and when they're ready to go, someone will go back to the back and get their cars. No patrons will ever be in the back parking area that you can see there.
But they can park in the front.
They can park in, it's all valet parking. There will be a few spaces in the front, and when they fill up, after that, it's valet parking.
Gotcha.
Very few in the front.
The site has an underground detention pipe system for metering out the stormwater from the site, and it outlets to the wetlands over in this northeast corner of the site. And as there's a 50-foot buffer around the site with no impervious areas, and required site distance at the entrance is adequate. And I would open it up for questions.
Okay. From what I understand, this application differs from the approved selectmen's application with the quantity, the size of the building, the number of employees, and from what I'm reading, that if you get the special permit, you're going to resubmit for the revised size of the building and the revised number of employees from 20 to 24.
Absolutely. Then the next step, and possibly the final step, would be to go back before the Board of the select board and asked for a revision of the adult entertainment license. The select board at one point issued, and there still is in effect, an adult entertainment license, but it will have to be revised in order to indicate that the building is no longer 2,000 square feet, but is, let's say, 4,200 square feet, for want of a better number, and that the number of employees has changed and the interior layout of the building has changed. The parking is somewhat the same, except that we've tried to improve it by doing valet parking only. Because when we did get the original license, there was a question from neighbors in the neighborhood in back about sound. And we wanted to make sure that no one was boisterous going to get their cars. And therefore we're going to institute valet parking, and that can certainly be a condition of the special permit.
From what I'm reading, you also talk about security details, police details, but you only discuss Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Are those the only days that are going to be, this place is going to be in operation?
No, those aren't the only days. Those were the days. The select board will deal with that. There are regulations, rules and regulations before the select board, and will comply with those rules and regulations.
Well, I think this board here can make a decision also, because how many days a week are you going to operate? 6 or 7 or?
6 or 7 days a week, yes.
Okay, because you don't say that in here. And again, all you discuss is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
In terms
of
police
security
details,
and
because
detail.
quite honestly, we're going to have security on site. We're going to have somebody who's a dedicated security person on site, but we don't see that there'll be that many people on the other nights. We just don't see large numbers of people on the other nights. And so if you're having 30 people at a time on a Tuesday night, it wouldn't make sense to have security that's not employed by the establishment. The establishment will always have someone who's a dedicated security person.
You also, in the selectmen's approval, says the hours of operation are between, is it 4 or 4:30 and midnight, and 1 o'clock rather?
That we would have the same hours of operation as were previously granted. That's what we will request from the select board.
But potentially 7 days a week.
Potentially.
Okay.
I have a question, Tom Morale, remotely. If this is approved, when do you in fact anticipate opening?
Well, we can't open until we go back to the select board and amend the adult entertainment license. After we go back before the select board, assuming they amend the adult entertainment license, then we have to get a building permit, because there isn't a structure there at this point, which is the structure that we set forth at our site plan. And construction will take, I would think, 12 to 18 months after approval by the select board. Oh, I don't think I wouldn't imagine that there would be any adult entertainment activity there for at least 2 years.
Thank you.
So at this point, back to the security. Under the present application, again, is for just Thursday, Friday, and Saturday with a Mendon police detail in addition to your own security people.
Correct. That was what was asked for. It was many years ago when we were before the select board, but that was what was discussed and what we're asking for again.
2010,
2010, that's, yeah.
look at the date.
Looking at it the other day and I said 11 years ago.
Yeah,
When I appeared before the select board on this, you know, it's a long time ago, and it's a lot of litigation that came after that. It was years and years of litigation before the United States District Court, the First Circuit Court of Appeals, the Supreme Judicial Court. Once the litigation ended was the point at which we came before the Conservation Commission and we came before the Planning Board. And now we're coming before you, and the final step would be before the Select Board. Who has rules and regulations about security specifically. We don't see that there's going to be any crowds that would require a police detail, a paid police detail on other nights.
The other nights that you're going to be open, are you're indicating that you're going to have your own in-house security people?
Yes, absolutely.
we went through that with the planning board. We went through that with the planning board too. About the security.
The,
Because if there's any incident there, we know that the license can be pulled.
well, that's a day late and a dollar shot at that point, so.
What?
I said, that's a day late and a dollar shot at that point.
I understand, but I mean, if there's issues, if the police have to respond to issues or the police, or there are issues that something happens before the police respond, then of course you can lose the alcohol license, you can lose the adult entertainment license, you can lose everything.
Well, those are all drawn out affairs. Those kinds of
Excuse me,
things.
can I ask a question?
You need to
My
identify
name's
yourself.
Catherine.
Uh,
My name's Catherine.
Excuse me. The way
Hello?
we're going to operate this, even though we don't have a large crowd here, is we're going to open questions up to the audience when this board is done asking or discussing whatever they want to discuss. And so we'll certainly give you an opportunity shortly to ask your questions.
Thank you.
Whoever is.
Can I ask you a question that I'm just curious to know? Does it affect the zoning at all? And it probably doesn't, that there's going to be a dispensary next door to this? Does that affect anything? No? Okay. I was just curious. Sorry.
Comments?
Yeah, just, is there, did you say there was been a traffic study done?
Yes, there was a traffic study done. And that was based on a 6,800 square foot facility.
Okay,
We found that there would be no impact on traffic.
okay, so that was actually an overestimation?
It was an overestimation based on something significantly larger.
Okay,
That was submitted to the planning board. And it was originally submitted to the board, the select board also.
Do you have any comments?
No, we talked about this at the planning board quite a bit. We went over this entrance and the pitch and all that stuff to get in and out.
What's your thoughts on this? police detail
I'm okay with it, if we went over with the planning board and we come to that same conclusion.
for just Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah.
And then what happens if suddenly there is a,
Then they're gonna have to, like you said, there'd be a hearing, they'd have to have police detail in. They'd have to if there's a problem.
what if there's a problem? I'm not talking about, what if there was just a large, what if the same amount of people show up on Tuesday that,
I believe at that meeting, the police chief was there too, and he kind of agreed with it.
He did. The police chief was there and agreed with it. A large group of people may show up and they may be totally peaceful. You would hope that everybody would be peaceful.
Yeah.
There would be security people
that are meeting.
at the establishment itself. And in fact, if something started to get out of control, they would obviously call the Mendon Police Department. You know, who would be there and control the situation. If it was something that two individuals couldn't control. But when we appeared before this board years ago, the select board, we talked about this at some length, and the police chief was there, and it was decided that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and that was a condition of the license at that point in time. It just isn't expected, and based on other clubs in other areas, it's only Thursday, Friday, and Saturday when there are larger crowds. And in fact, this is a very small club compared to other adult entertainment clubs. This might be the smallest adult entertainment, one of the smallest adult entertainment clubs in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in terms of the number.
I'd like to ask, this is Tom Morale again. So when you first open, as in other establishments like this, as in other establishments that might draw a crowd, there's definitely more of a crowd when it first opens. We saw it, you know, with marijuana businesses in Uxbridge, and there was extra law enforcement presence for the first month or so, anticipating the larger crowds. Is that something you've discussed? So the idea that when you first open, there's going to be more people there, even on days when you might not have a normal large crowd during a normal operation, or when you get into the regular quote-unquote groove of things.
I think actually nobody knows sort of where we're going to be in a year when this place opens up in terms of people actually coming to clubs like this. It's still unclear, given the pandemic, where we're going to be. Yeah. So we don't have any expectation of having large crowds when we open up. But the select board could certainly set it as a condition to come back if there are large crowds that cause incidents. It's not just having a crowd of 100 people there. If it's a peaceful crowd and it's valet parking and everything goes smoothly, there's no reason for a police detail. And police often don't want to actually detail adult entertainment establishments, some policemen have told me. It's not a closed door if it's needed at a later time. Having a police detail there to begin with is just to ensure that there are no issues. And it was felt that when we appeared before the select board back when, that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday was certainly sufficient. And I've done this in front of other towns, and I've never had anybody who requested it except on those days. Some towns don't require it at all.
anything?
That's out of the ordinary. I mean, if we were opening up a bar, bars in town obviously operate. There are bars in town that operate there are much larger facilities even on in that same area that do not have police details.
At this point, since the board has no more questions, we'll open it up to the public for any questions.
Okay, Laurie Sweet, you can unmute. Hear me, Dan?
Yeah, hopefully.
She is. Please state your name and your address.
I'll be muted.
Oh.
Hang on.
Does this lady have a question here?
Oh, was somebody on the,
Yeah, it's on here. There's 3 people, well, actually, there's a few now. All right, let's move on. Kylie Gibbons.
Can't hear you.
Hi, thanks for having me. I am here on behalf of Senator Ryan Fatman, and we just wanted to be here and hear what's going on. And Senator Fatman wanted me to pass along that he does have some concerns about this, especially the socioeconomic impact there. And we just wanted to make that known from our office and from Senator Fatman himself. And we're interested to hear more about it and see what steps are being taken, but ultimately have concerns and don't support the implementation of this business in Mendon. Thank you.
Next is Marsha Matthews.
Hi, I'm Marsha Matthews from Hopedale. Mendon and Hopedale, our borders overlap. What would have been an equitable strategy for community engagement? How is this going to serve the community? What will it do to property values? You should have asked about the locations before you decided to make that an adult entertainment district right on the main drag at the gateway to Hopedale. And every time I go to church and come home, I'm going to have to see that. And everyone's going to see it. It's going to be a blot on the landscape. And it's a real, like a combat zone. We're going to be the slum of the state if this goes in.
Moxie.
Hi, my name's Catherine from Hopedale. I live on the border there. So I just had a question. I might have missed this during the planning. I'm just wondering what studies were done with the wetlands and drainage, and if there were any studies done on how that would affect the wetlands and flooding in the area. And then I also had a question about how many, I heard you say a security person would be on site. And I'm just wondering the number of security personnel that you plan to have at this place.
With regard to the wetlands, we submitted a notice of intent to the Conservation Commission of Mendon. The Conservation Commission of Mendon held a number of hearings. They had an expert who made a number of recommendations. We complied with those recommendations, submitted revised plans, and the plans were approved by the Conservation Commission. The wetlands are in the back of the property, not in the front of the property. And with regard to security, we plan to have two people who are deemed security people on the site at all times, even the other days of the week. And we plan to have an off-duty police person on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Do you have numbers of like maybe the ratios that you might expect between customers and the security that you have on site?
Well, there's going to be a number of employees on site. There will be waiters people on site, and there will be people who are just dedicated to security. There'll be somebody who's dedicated to the front of the house. So there'll be several people who will be security people trained in security.
Laurie Sweet, I see you're unmuted now.
Thank you. Good evening. It's Bob, actually. Bob Sweet, 50 Milford Street. The applicant had mentioned wetlands, that they're only in the back of the building. When Mr. Giuliano owned Taylor Rental, they wouldn't let him work on the side of his building because they claimed wetlands in between the two buildings. Did they disappear or were they overlooked?
Maybe Mr. McKinnon could speak to that because he appeared before the Conservation Commission and he can show exactly where the wetlands are that were flagged before and more recently.
There are wetlands between the two buildings.
So I misspoke when I said there were no wetlands except in the back. I apologize for that.
And I did mention earlier that they were in the rear, that the main wetlands for the site is in the rear, and the majority of the wetlands along the right-hand side are actually in the other property. But there is a edge of the buffer or the bordering vegetated wetlands that is on our very edge. And because of that, the Conservation Commission asked us to move the entrance over 4 feet to the left to allow for the grading at that entrance area.
And how far is the building away from the wetlands?
The building's about 50 feet away.
And 50 feet is acceptable?
Yes.
Isn't there 100-foot, 100-foot wetlands buffer zone?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Now, second question. There's a detention pond in the front of the building. Where does that drain to?
That existing basin is taking care of the pipe that's coming off from the west side of the property and comes into the site. And then there's a pipe that goes laterally to the rear of the property and connects to the wetlands in the rear.
When I first moved to this town, I was going to buy that property, but on the map, it showed a brook. And that brook is no longer there. Where did that brook go? In past meeting minutes, the applicant stated that there was a stream there. Somebody put a pipe there. He put a bigger pipe. It's my understanding you can't bury a stream. And that would affect.
I'm not aware of any stream that he's talking about.
That should be in front of the conservation.
Yeah, that's conservation.
That was not brought up. No one brought that up before the Conservation Commission. We're not aware of any stream.
Okay, so, and did I miss my opportunity with conservation? Are we way past that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Eric Hodge.
Hello, Eric Hodge, 3 Bates Street. Earlier it was mentioned that the name of the establishment would be the only thing indicated on signage. Will the name of the establishment be suggestive or sexual in nature in any way?
Absolutely not.
Do we know what the proposed name of the establishment is?
No, but it will not be suggestive or sexual in any way whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Kathy Schofield.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to point out to the board that when we're talking about police detail and what traditionally other strip clubs face and don't face, we are talking about not just a regular site, because as Tom had mentioned, there's a cannabis next door as well. And there's a family drive-in right next door. So we're talking about an area that gets a lot of people. I don't know if there was fencing ever proposed. I understand that there's not a sidewalk on that side of the road. And I would imagine that guests may be leaving the establishment on foot to go back and forth. And have any of those issues been discussed or resolved, or is there any safety issues that have been covered?
It's supposed to be a fenced site.
I'm sorry?
That's fenced in site. Remember the planning board, we had a fence around it?
Yes. I mean, there's not going to be anyone walking.
No, there's no way going between buildings.
There's no access between buildings.
And how would you enforce that?
Well, people would have to walk up to the road and enter by walking along the road. That's not the expectation that anyone is going to enter in that way. People are going to drive to the site. It's not hospitable to people walking.
No, I understand that. I can't imagine that, patrons of a strip club might not want to at some point go next door, get something, and then come back. So I think there's I think it's a real challenge that has to be addressed.
Well, if someone wanted that, they'd have to walk up the driveway, which will be a steep driveway. They have to walk on the side of the road, on the shoulder of the road. Then they'd have to enter another establishment. I'm sure that people do not want sidewalks and encouraging people to be walking along the highway.
No, and we don't want fatalities on a road that's 50 miles an hour either, because people are intoxicated or they've gone next door to get, some weed. I mean, there are some concerns.
Granted, but you're not allowed to smoke marijuana on premises, and you're not allowed to be intoxicated on premises either.
You can only smoke in a smoking area out back.
Right. So.
And the staff at the establishment is going to be tips trained to make sure that they don't offer liquor to anyone who has any signs of being under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think we all know, from experience that it's not foolproof. Neither is not smoking marijuana on the premises. So, I mean, I definitely think there's some, issues there that could cause big problems somewhere down the road. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Latrell? No?
Yes, no, I'm here. Yeah, that just struck me. Did you just say that nobody can be intoxicated on the premises?
Yeah, so you don't serve alcohol to people who are intoxicated.
Okay, and so how will you police that? Will there be a drink minimum a maximum?
There are people who undergo training to determine whether or not anyone is exhibiting signs of intoxication. It's called TIPS training.
Yes, I'm aware of TIPS training. I'm just, I find it hard to believe that there will be, that there will be, people will be dissuaded from ordering drinks at a strip club.
It's no different from a bar or any other establishment where people drink alcohol. In those establishments, people are TIPS trained. We hear about people getting drunk in bars. We're going to
yes,
do our.
Yes, we do hear about people getting drunk in bars. I think that's what our concern is.
Right, and this is, people are TIPS trained, and they are instructed not to serve alcohol to anyone who's intoxicated because there's liability there.
Uh-huh, okay, very good, thank you.
Okay,
You're gonna have a full food menu too, right?
Yes.
Meals.
okay, we're gonna go to KM.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, please state your name and your address.
Karen Mead, 14 Blackstone Street, Mendon, Mass.
Go ahead.
This is more for the board. How many detail officers are at the drive-in every weekend during the summer?
I have no idea.
Don't know.
We'd have no idea on that.
Well, there's at least one, so I would probably say that one at the proposed strip club would also be okay.
Under the present proposal, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they are proposing to have a Mendon police officer on site.
Correct, but you were also saying that they should probably have one every day of the week, which the drive-in does not. They have one on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm just trying to be fair to everybody here. I'm not for the strip club, but I do believe in their rights.
Under the present proposal, the police detail is there for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only. That could change.
Correct, but if you could find out how many police detail are at the drive-in, that would be a good sort of like comparison to the strip club.
I don't know if we can do that comparison or not.
Well, actually, the drive-in has more. They have 700 people compared to a strip club that doesn't have that many people. So I think one detail would be proper. Again, I'm against the strip club, but they do have their rights.
You suggesting each day they're open?
No, I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday would be perfect because those are the busiest nights. The same as the drive-in.
I think she's.
That's what's
just
already
saying
on the
she-
agenda.
I think she's saying she's in support of what they proposed in the first place.
I see.
Thank you, Ellen.
All right. You're welcome. All right, Lori, Bob Sweet, did you have another question? Your hand's still up.
I actually do. I don't know if the board can answer this or not. The adjacent property, there's been some work done on it. Can the applicant answer whether or not they bought that as well?
We did not.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, which adjacent property are you talking about?
The one where it used to have the old oil tanks on it, it's right, it's to going up the hill. It butts your property.
If I'm looking at our property, is it the land to the left or to the right?
If you're looking at it, it's to the left.
Yes, we bought a lot which is to the left, looking at the property.
Okay, that I assume that you did. I just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. I thought you meant to the right.
The 47 is to the right, isn't it?
The metal building.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about that building. No, we bought the land to the left.
Thank you.
Okay, Marcia Matthews, do you have another question?
You're muted.
I just think it's inappropriate with the drive-in there with a lot of teenagers and kids that they're going to drive right past it. They'll be tempted to go in, and I know that they're not allowed in, but they'll have it in their mind. And it's, you know, it's also close to the Clow Elementary School. It's within like a mile. and churches and businesses. It's just, I don't know why this was considered appropriate for an adult entertainment zone where it is. I mean, you had 3 other places in town. Why this one?
This site was chosen by the town.
This was chosen by the town, and it's already gone to court, and the court has deemed that that was an appropriate spot.
I'm just asking about the zoning. Why do you have to have 4 adult entertainment zones in Mendon, and instead of just 1 like Hopedale? We only have 1.
We only
It's
have,
not on a main thoroughfare.
There only is one adult entertainment overlay district consisting of 4 lots in the town of Mendon. It went to town meeting, the town planning board and other people suggested it, and it was passed probably 15 years ago.
Oh, my. Well,
They may have made the wrong decision, but that's the decision they made.
then it went through the courts, and the court ruled that they could proceed.
okay.
Okay, Kathy Schofield? Did you have another-
Do I have my hand up still? Sorry about
You got
that.
your hand up still. You don't have a question?
Just a quick question. With the parcel that you purchased that abuts your property, did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
What is the intended plan for that? Or is that just going to be used for parking or?
If in fact it was needed for parking, then it would be open for parking, but it was to ensure that something wasn't erected there that would be bothered in some way. It was to give them more of a buffer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Sharon Luttrell?
I'm sorry, I already spoke.
Okay. Moxie, do you have another question?
Yes, so I'm hearing a lot of concern about the security on the external part of the building. So and you said 2 security guards. So that means, will there be one that monitors the inside and one that's on the outside monitoring the parking area? Or how are you monitoring the outside of the building?
Just have somebody on the inside, somebody on the outside, and to ensure that nobody actually is able to get past a gate, which is on the left side of the building, which means that all parking will be valet parking. Except for very limited.
One security guard on the inside for all of the guests and employees, and one on the outside.
Correct.
And that's normal for a strip club?
And that was what was agreed to with the select board now 11 years past.
It just doesn't seem like that's enough to me.
Okay. Do you have anything to say?
Yes, I have a couple questions.
And your name and address?
Cindy Van Slet, 32 Crestview Drive. So this traffic study you did, is that 11-year-old traffic study, or was that done recently?
It was an 11-year-old traffic study.
Okay. Is that okay? Because a lot has changed in 11 years. I mean, does that need to be revisited at all?
The same number of people go to the club on the average.
The traffic on Route 16, not the traffic that's going to go into your place.
Right. So to the extent there's the question is whether or not it's an unreasonable increase in traffic, which was an issue for the select board and will be again, we move to amend the application, the adult entertainment license, whether or not there's an unreasonable increase. To the extent there's more traffic, then there'd be less of an increase. The Department of Transportation determines whether or not it's a safe entrance or not.
Right.
It's 70 potential cars who are parking there. They'll stay for periods of time. There's going to be people who are going to exit just like 700 cars exit from the drive-in potentially, and they exit onto that road. The people who are there are going to be there not at the peak hours. The peak hours are morning and evening driving hours, and that's certainly not going to be people who are coming to the club. The people who come to the club would come at 7, 8, 9 o'clock and exit later when there's even less people on the road.
Okay.
We had the county engineer look at the traffic study.
Yes, he did.
I have a question about the smoking area. Is that going to be covered, like a roof over it? Or if it's raining out, are people going to just get wet? And the reason I'm asking is because my concern is around noise. The smoking area is toward the red area, and opening and closing the door to get in and out of the smoking area. You can see people, once they've been listening to loud music, when they come out, they talk really loud. They're going to be smoking cigarettes. You know, I want to make sure that the door is closed, that if there's a roof over them, maybe that would help contain noise as well.
There is no roof proposed. It's just a stockade fence around it.
So they're just kind of going out into...
Yes, but there is a stockade fence which will muffle sound.
Well, we're above, you know, because you guys are kind of down in a valley. So the residential area is up.
But all I'm saying is there is a stockade fence which will muffle sound going out. You'd have to have somebody whose head is to the sky, not talking to another person, that's all. The best way to muffle sound is a stockade fence, and that's why that was chosen.
Okay, and the doors will be kept closed, so if somebody exits to go out to smoke, if they're not, the door won't be propped open.
No, it'll automatically shut.
And if it is raining, do you expect people to smoke elsewhere, or like where they're dropping off valet cars? Are they going to be allowed to smoke there when they are waiting for their car?
You know, we work with the planning board, we provided a smoking area. This is the first time the issue has come up of smoking in the rain, to be honest.
I mean, I just, you know.
We did try to make sure, and I assume that your house is up above.
There, yeah.
And that's why we eliminated the parking in the back. Because we knew that was going to be a noise issue. If people went back to get their cars in back of the building, that was a potential noise issue.
Oh, exactly.
So we eliminated that with the valet parking. We thought that would just resolve that issue. We wouldn't have to say.
As long as your employees are quiet, that will be.
Hopefully that's the intention, that they will be quiet. That an employee going back for a car is not going to be yelling to themselves.
One question. Tom LeBlanc, Rescue Drive. Going back to the traffic. They're driving us out 11 o'clock at night. People will be leaving their place of entertainment at night.
Right.
Is that gonna be an issue? It's more, now we have twice as many cars coming out onto Route 16.
It's not going to be an issue in terms of,
Concern.
no, they're not going to overload 116. They're going to come out at different times and different, they're all going to come out at a particular time.
Thank you.
My understanding is that the older gentleman who owns this facility is supposed to be on site during a certain percentage of time that it's open. Is that still true?
He is the manager.
The older one, right?
Yes, and he is responsible at this point in time for the site.
Because he's the one that got the permit, right?
He's the one who's the manager on the permit.
Now, how often does he need to be there during hours of operation?
I don't think there's this particular, that's spelled out anywhere in the Massachusetts laws.
I thought there was.
Bob Sweet, you have another question?
Still muted, Bob.
Am I now?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. This is more for the board than the applicant. Question for the board. It's my understanding that the state is going to put a bike lane in down Route 16. They came to my property, they did a wetland study. They told me that it's for a bike lane, which means that they're going to alter Route 16. Does that affect the applicant at all?
I wouldn't think so. That's state road. I wouldn't think so.
Okay, thank you.
State on each side of the road, 10 feet, is that standard or? I don't know.
We're from the middle. I don't know. I don't know where the boundaries are.
Well, that was my question, is whether or not they're going to take from both sides, one side, or what, if you had any insight on that.
Oh, I don't know where the boundaries are for the state highway.
Well, it's 15
does
feet
not
on
have
each
any-
side. And they're going to take 12.
No. That's not up to us.
So that may change their entrance point. Be something to look into.
I'm sure they've got to get a state curb cut for state road. They've got to get the curb cut approved.
Yeah, I thought they were using their existing opening.
Oh, they're moving it a little bit.
Okay, so they have to file. That's the other thing. I had a state official come to me and tell me that I needed to get a state permit for any work that I do on my property that abuts the highway. Have they done that?
There's not going to be any work done abutting the highway other than the driveway.
Doesn't that make work on the highway? Putting a new driveway in?
We're going to have to get a permit from the Department of Transportation with regard to the driveway.
And has that been done yet?
No, that wouldn't be done until all the approvals are done.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, Catherine from Hopedale, do you have another question?
Yeah, so was the wetland study done 11 years ago or was that more recent?
Dale McKinnon from Gary and Holman. We provided a notice of intent to the town, to the Conservation Commission in 2020. There was a wetlands replication that was performed, I believe, in 2012, and I believe it was the COC for that particular work was approved in 2014. So we have an approval for the proposed work that we will be doing going forward based on the approval that was in October of 2020.
Okay, and is that separate from the, that other plan that you're talking about, asking for the special permit and the larger building that you're gonna try to go for also?
The current plan includes the larger building. There was a discussion about the fact that the original approval was for a 2,500 square foot building, and we're proposing a 4,800 square building, but Tom would have to address that question.
I'm actually not sure what the question is.
It has to do with the size of the building.
So when the studies were done, was it for the size of the building that you're proposing now?
Yes, and there was a hearings before the Conservation Commission in 2020, and approval was granted in 2020, and those plans involved the larger building and the new parking lot.
Okay, I'm just kind of confused about, like, you were talking about you're going to be asking for a special permit for changes to this plan. And I guess maybe I'm not clear about what that is and what that means and how the plans could change and how you might have to kind of backpedal and get approvals again for wetlands and traffic and things like that if you change these plans.
We don't have any intentions of changing the plans. What I said is that we will have to go before the select board and get a modification of the special permit. But the plans themselves will be the identical plans that were approved by the Mendon Planning Board and the Mendon Conservation Commission.
And what are the modifications? I don't understand what that means.
It means the select board granted an adult entertainment license for a 2,000 square foot establishment. You will now have to grant and no more than, I think it was 104 parking spaces. If I recall correctly, it's been 11 years. And now they'll have to modify that to allow a larger building with, I think, 4 more employees, less parking spaces.
They have to, or that's what you're asking for?
That's what we'll be applying. Entertainment licenses shall be granted unless there are certain conditions.
Okay.
I just want to say that I oppose this project.
Okay, thank you. Kathy Schofield?
Hi, one more quick question. A question that I have because I don't frequent these kinds of establishments, but is there going to be any live entertainment? Is there any live entertainment being at these establishments beyond dancers? Bands, etc.?
There's no intention to have live bands.
Okay, and is that something you would have to get a special permission to allow that to take place, or is that at your discretion?
No, you'd have to get permission from the select board to expand the entertainment license to include live bands.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, Bob? Sweet.
Just one more quick question. Now, It's my understanding that you're gonna almost double the building size. Correct? You're going from 2,500
Correct,
to
yes,
4,500?
correct.
And with the extra stormwater management runoff and the extra footprint of the building, that doesn't trigger any kind of conservation meeting of any kind? It doesn't require any extra conservation notice?
It triggered a notice of intent to be filed with the Conservation Commission, which was done. It required hearings before the Conservation Commission.
Right, wasn't that on a 2,500 square foot building though, and now you're almost doubling the size?
No, the building, the hearings before the Conservation Commission took place in 2020. They were based on the plans that are before the board tonight.
Okay, that was COVID times. Was that before March of last year, or was that during COVID times?
It was during COVID times by Zoom, just as it is tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you guys
That's it.
all set with comments?
The public has ended their questions. We're back to the board. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Showtime special permit for 49 Milford Street.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done.
Thank you.
Do we have minutes to approve?
We do have minutes to approve. All right, I sent these to you this week, so
Make a motion to approve the minutes for the 2/18/21.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good rest of your night. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. All right, and items not anticipated within 48 hours notice. I was contacted by the law firm of Heaney and Small concerning Lot 16, which is 3 Puffer Drive. The homeowner is in the process of selling the house, and the title lawyer is looking for the lot release. And they could not find where it had been recorded. I provided them, as town clerk, I provided them with a memo dated October 3rd, 2011, from the zoning board releasing the lot. I true copy attested that that wasn't enough for them. And then I also certified that you had released the lot on October 3rd, 2011. That was not enough for them. They would prefer that we do a new certificate of lot release. They typed one up for us. As a notary, I can notarize it for you. Basically, it says the undersigned, being a majority of the Zoning Board of Appeals of the town of Mendon, Massachusetts, hereby certifies the infrastructure requirements called for by the Declaration of Restricted Covenants for Cobbler's Knoll LLC, dated January 19th, 2005, recorded in the Worcester County Registry of Deeds at Book 35668, page 61, have been fully performed to the satisfaction of the zoning board and the town engineer as to the following enumerated lots shown on the plan referred to in said covenant and entitled Cobbler's Knoll, a proposed residential subdivision in Mendon, Massachusetts, dated November 22nd, 2002, recorded in the Worcester Registry of Deeds at Plan Book 00813, Plan, page 62, Plan 2313, Lot 16. In consequence whereof, the zoning board hereby releases from the restrictions as to the sale and building specified in said covenant lot 16. Said covenant is otherwise ratified. I believe it's just, it was missing at some
Did
point.
Mirage record all those other ones that we did at that time?
Yeah, so all the other ones are here.
All the other lots?
Well, who knows? Because
Yeah, because we're gonna
these
come
have all
with
been
this again.
sold houses, and this is
The
the
first time, now they
this
want to
one's come up.
resell.
Yeah, I guess,
I don't know how they bought the house without a,
yeah, I don't know how they did it without it either, but this law firm requires that we have a majority of the board sign this, and then I will notarize it and get it over to the lawyers. And these are the documents I had provided them.
I remember doing this now, they see this paper.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was
A
the
long time
affordable
ago.
housing.
That's
That
why we
was-
had to do that.
That was at 40B. It was 40B.
Yeah, it's a
houses.
40B.
Yeah.
Write down my name, I guess.
I just hope he recorded all these others.
Well, we'll find
Find
out.
out, yep.
If they get the same lawyers. It looks like I only need two.
Doing okay.
And that is that.
You come across electronically.
All right, that is all I have.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.